Welcome back to Magical Moms Travel Podcast. In today's episode, we are diving into the world of Disney World's value resorts. If you're looking to experience Disney with the magic without breaking the bank, this episode is going to be a deep dive into all the essentials of staying at a value resort. We're going to explore different value resort options. We're going to highlight the key amenities and discuss who we think that these resorts are best for. And we're going to offer some tips along the way. If you're planning a Disney trip on a budget, this episode is going to be a must listen for you.
So let's start off with what are Disney World value resorts. As previously discussed in other episodes, there are 3 tiers of resorts with different budgets, including deluxe, which is like your highest end. I won't even put the word value in that. Highest resorts, moderate, and then value, with value being the most affordable on property. So value resorts offer unique charm, and the theming of value resorts make them ideal for families and first timers. Our very first time that we went to Disney as a family of 4 at the time, we stayed in a value resort, and to this day, it was one of our most favorite experiences.
Okay, so like Carla just said, I did want to mention real quick that her family of 4 stayed at a value resort. So if you're a family of 5, value resorts are not in as abundance. There are some family suites that can accommodate 6, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but those are far and few between, and sometimes the cost of those is just as much, if not more, than a moderate resort or even verging on the pricing of a deluxe resort. So we're going to get into the amenities and the features of a value resort, the overview of pools, food courts, transportation, and other amenities. These are going to be pretty much the same at each of the 5 value resorts. They're going to have a main feature pool. At this pool, they're going to have things like pool games. The pools are going to be like over the top themed. So at like Art of Animation, you've got like the big blue pool, which is the biggest pool on property, and you've got the Finding Nemo themed creatures and animals out there. And so, like I said, you're going to have music all day at these pools. You're going to have lots of fun games. A lot of times at these resorts, this is where they do movies under the stars. But then you also have quiet pools at each of these properties, most of the time 2 other quiet pools. And there's not going to be music. They're going to be less crowded. They are still going to have a little bit of theming, but not as over the top as the main pools. Then we talk about the food courts. So at these resorts, you're not going to have like a sit down dining option where somebody's going to come and serve to you. It's more of like a cafeteria type food court feel where you're going to have different stations and you're going to go and be able to pick things like chicken tenders and burgers. But they do a lot of times try to have different types of meal, a Chinese meal where there's like some chicken and rice or whatever. And you're going to have dessert bars. And so there's plenty of options here, but if you want something a little more elevated, you're probably not going to find that at these resorts. Transportation to these resorts are most often going to be bus only. There are 2 of these resorts that do have the Skyliners, but these resorts are also the furthest away from the parks, and so your transportation may take a little bit longer. Other amenities that you can expect at these value resorts are things like campfires at night, and then the movies under the stars that I mentioned before.
I was going to say that these resorts all have the exterior hallways.
Yes.
And so when you want to get to your room, you're going to have the exterior hallways. I've heard people compare these to like motels, but I feel like that's not the right word for it. But it's definitely not as luxurious as a deluxe resort that's going to have interior hallways. You go to the lobby of that building and you're connected to your room, like a traditional hotel would be. These are going to have separate buildings throughout its property, and you're going to walk out in an outdoor hallway. But honestly, it's not a huge deal. I don't think any of us really had a huge deal with it. It's just something to know with the value resorts that's going to be one of the differences. And I think also with families, like you said, it's more lively, more fun, more excitable. There's lots of things going on and lots of people.
And the one thing I was going to add too, and this might have been the word you were trying to look for, but it was a word that came up for me, April, when you were talking about the food. Like there's a wide selection, but the quality, in my opinion, is just kind of Like it's, it's not horrible. It's not dog food, but it's like a good wide selection from different types of cuisines, like Chinese to American to this to that. But yeah, the quality is just, it's okay. It's not going to be like your favorite bowl of pasta, is what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right. You hit the nail on the head. She's exactly right about that. It's not going to be the most talked about thing when you go home for sure. But right, so let's talk about room types and layouts at these resorts. So as mentioned before, you're going to have standard room types, and these are going to fit 4 people and 1 infant if you want to. I'm going to tell you that's not going to be very comfortable if you try to put 4 people and an infant in a room. It's going to be very crowded. These are the smallest rooms on property. Is it doable? Absolutely. And for like my family of 3, it's perfect. But I would say if it was like 4 adults, that's going to be a lot. And trying to share a bathroom, not having a couch to sit on, you don't really have anywhere to sit or be except in your bed. So that is something to think about. But if you're a family, like a mom and a dad with 2 kids, it's perfect. Sometimes you're going to see standard rooms versus preferred rooms. And I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So preferred, all it means is that it's closer to the transportation or the food court and the main pool. It does not mean that the room is any different or any bigger. It is the same exact room. It's just closer to things. And so you got to ask yourself, is it worth me paying that extra $15 to $20 per night to stay in that preferred room to be closer to transportation? Your answer may be yes, and that's perfectly fine. But I did want to throw that out there because a lot of people kind of get tripped up on what that means. And then we have family suites. So there's only 2 value resorts that offer family suites, and one is y'all correct me if I'm wrong, All Stars Music has the family suite, and then Art of Animation. So at All Stars Music, the rooms are going to be like a bedroom with a bathroom. But when you enter, you're entering into what's kind of like the living room area, but actually it's going to have the sleeper sofa. And then there's going to be another bathroom with a little kitchenette area and a pull down Murphy bed. And then, like I said, the bedroom with the bathroom. So it can sleep 6 people. And if you heard what I said, there's 2 bathrooms, 2 full bathrooms, 2 showers, 2 toilets. So that is immensely useful with families of 6, because trying to get ready and use the bathroom is a large time suck sitting around waiting on people to get those things done. These are very affordable at All Stars Music. At Art of Animation, these rooms are themed to Lion King, Finding Nemo, and Cars. And they're so cute. We stayed in a Cars one last year, but the price can run on average like $600 and something per night. And that rivals a deluxe resort. So you got to look at that and see if it's worth it, because at Art of Animation, the kitchenette area was really just like a standard cooler with like a little counter with a sink. It wasn't like a whole kitchenette area at the All Stars Music. So we can kind of help you out, figure out what's best for your family. These can be best for families that want to bring in groceries and fix those sandwiches, those peanut butter and jellies, and take them into the park and have snacks and water bottles and things. So these are things we can help you figure out. Next, I'm going to go into the All Stars Resorts, and I kind of just already started talking about them. There is All Star Sports, All Stars Music, and All Stars Movies. The rooms are going to be exactly the same. Everything's like the same colors and whatever inside the rooms. They're the same size, same bedding configurations. But what's different about them is the outdoor theming. And the theming at these resorts is over the top. So it's going to be over the top sports. You're going to have like the basketball section where there's like these huge basketballs on the outside thing. And then at All Stars Music, you have different areas of theme music. So like there's Broadway, there's country. So the outdoor decorations are themed to that. The pool decorations are going to be themed to music. You're going to see music notes on the banisters. And then at All Stars Movies, it's themed to movies. So you have like Love Bug, Toy Story, Dalmatians. So that's what you can expect at these resorts. You're still going to have those games, the movies under the stars. You do want to note that these are most often used for cheerleading competitions if they're booking huge groups of people, or band competitions, anything like that where there's large school groups coming to do something at Walt Disney World. They're going to be booking at these value resorts. And so you may hear bands outside practicing. You may hear cheerleaders outside chanting and cheering and practicing their dances. I have not experienced that as of yet, and this is something we can help you plan around and be like, there's cheerleading competitions. You might not want to stay there. We might want to stay somewhere else.
Thank you so much for all of that information. I think you touched on a little bit of our next resort as well, which is Art of Animation. But I love the value resorts because, like you said, they're so lively and so fun. I think for young kids specifically, their faces light up. I remember the first time we took our
Yeah.
kids, and our 3-year-old and even I guess she would have been 7 by then, still loved all those huge, and I'm talking huge statues that are 3 stories tall of Mickey, like, or
Yeah.
of Ariel, of Ursula. They were scared of that one. So you get what I'm
Yes.
saying. So it's really fun and lively. And I think a lot of people go after that when they're looking to take their kids to Disney for the first time. So Art of Animation is one of those ones that's going to have really large statues as well. And this one celebrates the art and of Disney and Pixar classics. So like I said, Little Mermaid, Lion King, Cars, and Finding Nemo. Each building or each section is going to be themed after those. But unlike the other value resorts, all of those buildings, except for Little Mermaid, have the family suites. And so just like April said, these family suites, they have a similar layout as the All-Star Music family suites do. But the bedding configuration is slightly different in that they have the separate bedroom area and the separate living area. In the separate living area, they have the pull down Murphy bed, but they have a pull out couch instead of a second Murphy bed, I think. So we want to take that in mind if you have kids that are a little bit older that need a little bit more space, that want that comfort of home. You don't want them sleeping on a pull out couch. That's something to consider. Art of Animation.
Hold on. Did I say there were 2 Murphy beds in the All Star Music? I think it's a pull out couch, a Murphy bed, and then a real bed in there as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep that in mind for that too.
Yeah. I think I have notes later on too about like if it's worth it for families, what they need to do about that configuration.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that more later. But as far as Art of Animation, they also do have the Little Mermaid building. And so this one actually has standard rooms with 2 queen beds. So there is a value standard room option at Art of Animation. Additionally, I think April also said that the Art of Animation has the biggest pool on Disney property called the Big Blue Pool, and it's themed after Finding Nemo. And so a lot of the kids will love it because they are familiar with the movies, and they have a splash pad, and it's really cute. And finally, Art of Animation is connected to our next resort, Pop Century, in the way that they both share Skyliner access. So that's a huge selling point for Art of Animation and Pop Century, is that they have that additional Skyliner. Because of all of these things, I think that's why we see the pricing significantly higher than another value resort, even moderate resorts. So our next resort that is a value resort is Pop Century. So like I said, it's connecting to Art of Animation, but this one is described as a nostalgic journey through the decades. Each area in this resort is themed after a different decade, from the 1950s to the 1990s. And like I just said with the Little Mermaid rooms, here's a fun fact for you. They originally planned to have an additional decade before they built all of that Art of Animation resort. They were going to expand and do more decades in Pop Century. And so that original building that was the Little Mermaid now has those standard rooms was going to be another decade in Pop Century. And then they changed it over. And of course, now it's included in Art of Animation. This is a popular resort though, because you have the value price and the Skyliner access. I think this one is more popular with adults and smaller families, obviously, because of the room sizes, with the two queen bed layout. But I think that's what I've noticed. I think Art of Animation is going to be full of families. A lot of the other value resorts are going to be full of families. Pop Century is a little bit more leaning towards the adult and small families with older kids, just because of the theming. I think a lot of people will pick that one least over the other ones if they have small kids.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the reason you're going to find more adults or and less smaller families here is because it's still a value priced resort and it's not super expensive, but it's on the Skyliner line. And so, adults are like, well, I don't really need the Little Mermaid theming of my room. I can really save some money by just staying at Pop Century. And so I think that's why they choose that one over this. And it's a super comfortable, clean resort. You're going to laugh as you walk around and look at some of the decades and some of the decorations. And so, yeah, I think that's why. And it's such a cute resort.
Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons of staying at a value resort. So there are a lot of advantages, and I'm even going to say this off the bat. If your family stays for the first time at a value resort, you will love it so much. You will not know that you're or realize that you're missing anything else. I truly mean that. Like, these resorts are special, they are unique. And so if you've never stayed at, Disney property before and your budget, requires that you need to stay at a value resort, like, you are going to love it. So I just need to put that out there. So the advantage is definitely the affordability. So if we get like a family who tells us their budget is maybe like 4K or under or something like that, and they want to stay for like 7 nights and do a handful of park days, and there's like a family of four, I'm automatically going to make sure that I'm pricing out value resorts just because I want to get the most bang for their buck. Since in our previous episode, you've learned that there's a lot of different other categories of things that you have to consider, in addition to just lodging. So definitely affordability. Right away is going to save a lot of money. And again, we all three of us prefer always staying on Disney Resort instead of staying off property. So hands down, value resort for that is a huge advantage. And then you get all the Disney perks. So you get early park entry, which is like a half hour before the park opens. And that's awesome. So you get the perks of being on Disney property. The only thing you wouldn't get, which Moderate wouldn't get either, is the deluxe hours, evening hours, but that's okay. You get to go to the parks every day a half hour early. And then the larger than life theming, I honestly don't think that there's any other category of resorts that have as big, vibrant decorations and theming like value resorts. Like, you literally, if you even just tour the value resorts, which we like to do when we're there, taking the Skyliner over to Art of Animation and Pop Century, I mean, you just feel like you were plopped into like a totally different world. It's amazing. So there's just the theming and the decorations are really awesome. And then the dining, there are a variety of options. So that definitely is an advantage. Like, these are huge cafeteria type, in a very nice way, of course, style of food options. And I also think that the gift shops at the value resorts are pretty awesome too. They're large, they're themed well. We actually love the gift shops there. I feel like they get smaller as you go to the different categories of resorts. So huge gift shops. All right, so here's some potential downsides, and it's not us complaining, it's just being raw and honest. The crowds, these are really popular for families to stay at because of the affordability, so they can be really packed. The amenities are basics. They're probably all that you need, but they're just very basic amenities. The room sizes definitely small and can be tight for families of four, especially if it's like four adults, especially at the resorts that I think it was April talking about, the All Stars resorts. Like, those are definitely smaller. And if you're not in like a family suite, then very small, standard, basic rooms. And then food again, there's lots of options, and I would say it's okay, but just the quality can lack a little bit. Your traditional pizzas and mac and cheeses and chicken tenders, like those don't change, from wherever you go. So those are always good, but just not the best quality, but it's still good. Trust me, it's still good. And then these resorts tend to be large. So if you might be walking a lot. So if you can, looking at a preferred room to stay in a building closer to pool or food is definitely something to at least consider or look at the price difference of. I know I have families who stay in value resorts all the time, and preferred is their only option because they've been there before, and the walking, even though you're already doing a lot of walking at the park, some people's mentality is when they're at the resort, they don't want to do as much walking. So it's very spread out and can be a lot of walking.
Now I wanted to move into a section and tell you like who should stay at a value resort. Anybody can stay at a value resort, but what are the ideal guests? Families with young children, budget conscious travelers, and those planning to spend most of their time in the park. So let's talk about those families with young children. We already hit on it several times when we were describing the resorts. These resorts are just vibrant and fun, and they're quintessential Disney. They're going to see their favorite characters, the kids are, and this is why a lot of families want to choose to stay at these resorts, because it's not the same old hotel. And I'm not saying that the moderate or deluxe resorts are like the same old hotel like you would get if you stayed in Myrtle Beach, but it is just so different from anything you've probably ever been to before with the theming that kids are really going to love it. Budget conscious travelers, I think it goes without saying, they're value resorts. These are going to be our least expensive resorts. And quite honestly, the All Stars resorts, very often the price rivals the price of maybe the Holiday Inn Express or whatever down the street. And so if I'm gonna pay the same price, I'm staying on Disney property. And then those planning to spend most of their time in the parks is because, I mean, why do you need to spend a lot for a room that you're not going to enjoy the perks and amenities of? So if you're really just going to use it for sleeping and showering, why spend extra money on those other resorts?
I would agree with that also, because when you compare an offsite, a Good Neighbor hotel, you have to factor in the time for transportation. They will advertise that they have shuttles, but the shuttles will run on such crazy schedules. Like they would have you returning at 7 p.m. and then like why would you come all the way to Disney and then not want to see fireworks? It's just kind of crazy to me. So you want to take an account of that. And then all those offsite resorts usually have resort fees as well. And that just adds to the price. Plus, if you have your car, you're going to have parking fees, parking at the parks. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, when someone comes to me asking if it's cheaper to stay offsite or stay at a value resort, the value resort still wins out every single time. All right, so next segment, quickly, I'm going to run in some tips for making the most of your stay at a value resort. Number one, I know that most people are trying to stay at a value resort to save money, so let's save a little bit even more money by finding the best rates. The number one thing I'm going to say is that I recommend to everyone is book immediately. Like if you think you're going, you're going, book it. Book it with us, put the $200 down, and that's going to act as your deposit. It's going to be refundable up to 30 days before you travel, before that date that you picked originally. And you can make unlimited changes. So if you decide later that you want to upgrade to a moderate resort or you want to splurge because you have extra money into a deluxe, you can do that. If you decide that you want to add park days, take them away. You originally had a girls trip with 4 people and now only 2 people are going. We can take care of all those changes for you up until that 30-day mark. And then you can slowly make payments on that. But booking today is always going to be cheaper than booking 6 months from now. Okay, it just is what it is. Now I get the question, oh, well, I see deals come up and, what happens there? And we can apply those deals and discounts to your bill if they have the space, and a travel planner will be online doing that for their clients that morning of, as soon as they are announced at 6 a.m. So we're taking care of that for you. if versus if you're someone who's just looking at the site and saying, oh, look, there's a deal. Most of those deals are already taken within the first couple of days. So booking now, booking your $200 deposit, and then having us apply a discount later is going to save you so much in the long run. I've even had clients who, because they booked a year in advance, a deal came out, the price difference was maybe $100 applying that discount because they booked before price increases for tickets and hotels in their package. So again, booking now is always, always, always going to be cheaper. The next thing obviously is going to be flexibility. If you can travel with off peak season when kids are in school, that's going to save you a lot of money. I also have a tip for food at these resorts. So at a value resort, you do have a food court. And they're pretty expansive. There's always a place to sit. You can sit outside. There's a lot of seating. But they know that they have to serve a lot of people. And so it's gonna feel packed. It's gonna feel noisy. If you want to avoid that, you can mobile order whatever you want from the food court, pick it up and go anywhere else in the resort that's a little bit less quiet, noisy. So you can get some quiet, but you're not going to see everything that they have on that mobile order menu. So if I always say, just go and see and walk around and see all the options. And that way, you know the difference between what's on your app and what they have in person. And my last tip, if you're staying at Art of Animation or Pop Century, utilize that Skyliner and go to dinner or breakfast somewhere else because it's going to expand those dining options. We love going to Caribbean Beach and Riviera and even all the way up to the boardwalk to get dinner if we are having a resort day and just we want something a little bit different than what the value resorts have to offer. All right, the next tip for resort activities. I think a lot of people don't realize this also comes into play when you compare offsite to onsite at Disney World. Mostly every single resort at Disney World has some sort of free scavenger hunt that you can participate in. All of the value resorts really have fun, lively pool activities. They also do movie under the stars every single night, unless of course it's raining. They have nightly s'mores by the campfire, which the marshmallows themselves are included in your stay. If you want to upgrade to s'mores, you can do that. And they also have some paid craft activities like Mickey tie-dye shirts or making a mosaic. They have pin trading at some of their resorts. They might even have like hair braiding and all kinds of fun stuff that you can do. So you really do feel like you're at a resort compared to a hotel that's going to have just the place to sleep. And I think all of these activities add such value to you staying at a Disney resort.
So we had a listener question, and this is one of the most common questions we get. Is it worth upgrading to a family suite at a value resort, or should we stick with a standard room? And Magical Mom's answer is that's a very great question. Whether you're upgrading to a family suite is worth it is really dependent on your family's needs and how you plan to spend your time at the resort. So when we would say you should choose a family suite is if you're traveling with a larger group or need extra space. The family suites at Art of Animation or All Star Music offer rooms for up to 6 people, a separate bedroom, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchenette. The extra space can be a lifesaver for families needing a bit more privacy or a separate area for the kids to wind down while adults stay up later. The kitchenette also allows for quick meals or snacks, which can save time and money during your stay. I definitely recommend this for families with young kids because the third bed setup is a pull-out couch. I would not recommend 6 adults stay inside a family suite. I would tell them to upgrade to a cabin at the Wilderness at Fort Wilderness, a 2 to 3 bedroom suite, or to get multiple standard rooms. I wanted to put in my personal story into there and say that even though we're a family of 3, my husband values wind down time at night with like watching TV or whatever. And sometimes that's a struggle when we're in a standard hotel room and the kid's trying to go to sleep and I'm trying to go to sleep and he's over there wanting to watch some show that's like loud and annoying. And I'm like, can you please just turn that light off and get it out of my face? And so sometimes thinking of a family suite and having that living room area and having the bedroom that can be closed off and then just having the second bathroom is sometimes just a lifesaver. So for us, sometimes we're like, maybe we'll get a family suite. On the other hand, if you're planning to spend most of your time in the parks or you just need a place to sleep and shower, a standard room might be all you need. Standard rooms can accommodate up to 4 people, and while they don't offer as much space or amenities as the suite, they still provide the same access to Disney's fantastic transportation, pools, and other resort benefits. So our Magical Moms take on all of this is if having extra space, a second bathroom, and a kitchenette sounds like it would enhance your stay and reduce stress, then upgrading to a family suite is definitely worth considering. However, if your budget is tight or you're okay with a cozy setup, sticking to a standard room will still give you the full magical Disney experience.
All right, friends. So if you are planning your stay at a Disney World Value Resort, be sure to subscribe to our podcast to get more tips and insider advice on getting the most out of your Disney vacation. If you've stayed at a value resort, we'd love to hear about your experience. And if you are looking to stay at a value resort, we would love to be a part of that experience for you by helping you book it. And you can get free quote using the link on our socials that we provide or in the show notes. Share your thoughts with us on social media. Make sure you're following us. We are on Instagram at Magical Moms Travel Podcast. We are on TikTok, Facebook, and recently YouTube.